Chapter 11. On the drive home, I kept my eyes closed. Yvette's mom probably thought I really was sick, but all I was doing was replaying the entire scene with Manuel over and over again. The way we danced and held hands, how he changed when we were alone, the scorn in his face when he called me a gusana. How could someone seem so perfect and then rip out your heart? "Ah, que habrá pasado," Yvette's mother exclaimed as she pulled the car into the driveway. I opened my eyes to see 2 police and military vehicles parked in front of my house. Thoughts of Senor Battlefield and Doc Machada filled my head. I jumped out of the car and ran to the front door. Yvette and her mother only steps behind me. "Papa! Mama!" I shouted. A soldier opened the door. "Mi hija, we're here," Mama called out. Inside, soldiers were making a mess of the house. There were drawers emptied out onto the tables. Furniture was moved. The loose tile on the floor was lifted up. Papa sat at the dining room table with his hands cuffed behind him. "Benacia, Lucia, stay with me." Mama sat on the sofa holding Frankie, his eyes wide with fear. A policeman stood over them, hands on his rifle. I rushed over and sat next to Mama. "Por qué?" I tried to absorb everything. "Why are they here?" Mama opened her mouth to speak, but Yvette and her mother walked into the room. "Sonia, ¿qué pasa?" "What did you do?" Yvette's mother asked. "We did nothing," Mama answered. The officer chuckled. "Nothing, eh?" Illegally withdrawing items from the bank, hoarding cash and jewelry, probably working with the underground. He looked over at Yvette's mother. "That sound like nothing to you, Marcella?" I tried to warn them. She pulled Yvette toward her. "You see, this is what I've been telling you. You can't trust people like this." "People like this?" Mama stood up. There was a fire in her eyes. "You mean good people who you've known your whole life, people who don't follow every little thing Fidel says, who actually have minds and question what is happening." Yvette's mother threw up her hands. "Vámonos, Yvette. There's nothing getting through to them. They're just like the Yankee imperialistas." Yvette stood frozen by the doorway as her mother walked out. She stared at me and then at the hole in the floor. I couldn't tell if her gaze was one of pity, fear, or guilt. She slowly turned to leave. Mama smoothed back her hair and sat down. "How could anyone have known about the jury?" she muttered. "No one knew. We never said a word to anyone." I looked over at Yvette walking out. She knew. She'd heard me say it was in the floor. I stood up. "I need to talk to Yvette. Can I go outside a moment?" The police officer motioned for me to go ahead, but I wasn't talking to him. I looked at Mama and she nodded. Guilt washed over me as I realized this was all my fault. If only I hadn't trusted my best friend. I hurried outside and grabbed Yvette by the shoulder before she stepped off the porch. "Lucy, I'm so—" "Save it," I said in a low voice. "I know it was you." "How could you? I thought you were my friend." "What? You don't think You're the only one who knew. You lied about the brigadistas, about leaving. Did you think this would get you bonus points with your new comrades? I'm sure you and Emmanuel will have a big laugh about all of this." Yvette's mother honked the car horn, and Yvette motioned for her to wait just one more minute. "Lucy, you're not serious. We're best friends. You said it was wrong for us to hide our things." "Yeah, but I never—" "No one else knew." I shook my head. "Only you. And look what your mother thinks of us." "So, this is the thanks I get after defending you for weeks? Fine. I certainly don't need to stand here and be accused of something I didn't do. Go back to your traitor family. See if I care." Yvette stormed off the porch and ran back to her mother's waiting car. "I never want to see you again," I shouted as the car pulled out of the driveway. I turned and walked back into the chaos. Papa was being told to stand up. "Wait!" I ran toward him. A soldier blocked me. "Tranquila, Lucy. They just want to ask me some questions at the station. Everything will be fine." Papa tried to smile. But I'd heard stories of people being arrested and never coming back. Of the Paradon, the firing squad. "No, please!" Tears stung my eyes. An officer grabbed me by the arms. Before I could move, I looked back at Mama, frozen on the sofa, holding Frankie. who had hidden his face in her chest. A soldier had his rifle aimed directly at them. Papa marched right by me, his head held high. Quietly he whispered, "I'll be fine. Take care of your mother." Huge tears ran down my cheeks. The lump in my throat barely allowed me to breathe. I nodded as Papa was led out of our house. Seconds passed, but it felt like years. As the last of the soldiers walked out, one of them looked at our terrified faces and laughed. Before leaving, he turned and spat on the floor. "Gusanas," he said. The door slammed shut. Mama turned to look out the window. "Fernando," she wailed, but he was already gone.